Hello everyone, Jerry Tabbitt with you once again for another edition of this Military Minutes, and we've got a very special guest with us today. Her name is Megan Grimm, and she's a customer specialist over at Home Depot, and you're going to be surprised at this story. First of all, Megan, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, we're going to talk about you doing a tribute for 9/11, and this is kind of unusual because, let's face it, you weren't even born yet during 9/11. Give us the background on this. Why did you do it?
I am involved constantly with the local VFWs and auxiliaries. I joined as early as 16 with the Sherman Post, and I just continued that with my mother.
Your mother's got quite a story too, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Mom.
Mom has done this for many, many years, and she is even doing the, instead of the auxiliary, she's having reserves on Sherman. So she is starting her own mini post there.
Great, great, great. Why did you decide to do this? I mean, it's kind of unusual for someone that wasn't even born. And a lot of young adults today, Megan, they don't even say 9/11. I don't care about that because I wasn't even born. Why is it so special to you?
It's something that has graved the hearts of many Americans and even veterans. We can't even forget the local policemen and firemen as well. They're considered veterans of the country because they took an oath as well. So that's something that we just can't forget.
Do you have any relatives or anything that were in 9/11, that catastrophe?
Not that I know of.
Not
myself.
that you know of. Well, what is this tribute all about? What did you actually do?
Well, I speak once a year at the local posts in VFW, and that's just something I had a joy in.
Now, you said you do some local speaking like that. Have you thought about writing a book on this or making a movie or a short video or anything like that?
Well, I'd start here with you.
Well, that'll work. Well, I guess, hey, I could say how your age is then, I guess. But you actually have this background where when you were in school, you actually ROTC. Mm-hmm. So you kind of understand the whole interrelationship that the veterans, our police, our first responders, our firemen, and all that have when it comes to something like this. So you kind of know what it means.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How long have you been with the ROTC? I know you graduated now, but you were in high school, right?
I was in high school for 3 years instead of 4. I decided to graduate earlier because I wanted to do a delayed enlistment, but I got braces, and thus my chances now to go into the military.
Does any of your peers say anything to you about why such a young lady is doing all of this? Do they make any comments one way or the other?
They're not negative. They're all been positive.
That's great. Have you been up to visit the actual memorial itself in New York?
I have not.
That would be something you ought to try and do because it's pretty touching. Now, as you speak about this, what is the reaction from the adults that you speak to at the VFWs and everything? And they're looking up there and they're saying, wow, we got this young lady and she's bringing something close to our hearts. What is their reaction to you when you do that?
Well, they mostly cry, and I cry too when I read my speech too. And it's just emotional for everyone because even though we may have not had real family or friends actually go there, for some of us, it happened to everyone. And that's just something that we should be reminded of as Americans.
And that's amazing that you would take this up and do that. Now, you talked about a speech. Just give us a recap of what you actually talk about in that speech.
Well, we talk about the American values and the people that were mostly hurt in there, even the families and friends and just normal day living people on Tuesday. It's something that's really important.
And a lot of people need to be reminded of that. Do you think that this is going to change your outlook on life now that you're so deeply involved with what you're doing?
I would definitely say to cherish friends and family. That's the most important thing that life could ever give you.
How do you think this has changed, this 9/11 has changed your generation? I know it's changed you, Megan. Has it changed any other people? And if it has, in what ways? Negative or positive?
As you said earlier, that for the younger generation, they normally don't think about it. It's something that like the generation is moving past, and I just want to remind people that it definitely happened here. We can't forget about it. Our national security should be very, like, you know.
That's remarkable that someone as young as you actually has this great feeling for it. Now, 9/11 itself, a lot of people are saying, well, we can't do anything about it, so we need to forget about it. But you're of the mindset that we need to remind people almost on a daily basis what happened when our country was threatened.
Yeah, it's definitely history. We can't forget.
Do you ever have the opportunity to go out in the schools or anything like that and talk?
With you, I think I should be able to do that.
I think you could do that too. You still believe that even after all of these problems we've had, there's still a lot of hope for our country to put all this behind us. What is that hope that you're looking forward to? And I guess to coin the phrase, what do you hope to see happen now?
That's a very deep question. I just definitely want to remind people that our values, our loyalties to this country, the oaths that we take even for first responders in the military, just remind each other that we're here together. We should be reunited instead of be separated for something that did try to separate us on 9/11.
And let's face it, it will happen again too. I mean, it will happen again somewhere, sometime. But we all need to prepare for that. But you actually believe in America, which we can overcome anything.
Yes.
And this uniting that you're talking about, what are some things that we, and when I say we, I mean the public that's going to be viewing this now, what are some things that we can do to keep this memory alive and to unite this country together so that we're one nation under God once again?
I think it's more important to involve our younger generation along with our first responders and our veterans. Like at the post, like even at their schools, that you can visit here and there and just, encourage them, hey, this is history. We can't forget about those that did lay their life down for this.
Now, one thing today with your generation, Megan, growing up, everything is on that phone, the internet, and Facebook, and all this. What is an approach that you think would work with the younger generation like you, going through social media to bring people together? Can you tie all that social media together, because there's so much stuff on there right now that absolutely means nothing?
Yeah, you're right about that. Technology is truly a tool, even if we use it for wrongdoing, such as spreading misconceptions across the board. We can create local groups together and even bus the children to visit those first responders at their local fireman place or police place. Yeah.
And when you see one, say thank you. That's one of the big things we need to do. How has this changed you?
It's definitely made me cry a lot because, this grieving will never go away for most of us. And it'll never really go away from our history. And it's important to remind people about that.
And we're so proud of you for that. As you go forward now, do you plan to take this to a new level? I mean, right now you're very young, trying to get yourself established and everything. Are you going to try and take it to a newer level where you can actually go out and have a presentation on 9/11 that you can talk to groups?
I didn't think of it that way, but since you're talking about it, I could be an advocate, and as you mentioned, I could actually visit it, the memorial. I could do that.
And it would change you even more as you do that, because of the fact that once you see it face to face, and one other place that you should go visit is when you get done with New York, go down to Washington area there, go over to Arlington, and go through there too, because it's amazing what you see in our national cemetery. You see headstones that believed to be the remains of John Smith. This country, we shouldn't be believing to have the remains anymore. We need to have them all identified. Now, we've got some very dear friends of ours that he was actually a policeman in New York itself. He was in the harbor when 9/11 came down, and he talked about the mass hysteria and everything. Have you ever seen any of that, or had anybody, when you're giving your speech, Megan, say, wow, this was a real troubling time and we don't know what to do? What kind of advice, and I say you can give them advice because you're dedicated to this, what kind of advice would you give to people to help them cope with this? Because a lot of them, they think if we don't talk about it, it goes away, but it never goes away. How can we keep this memory of 9/11 alive?
Well, we can definitely instill this information to our younger generation. We can ask our grandparents, our great-grandparents about it, because they were alive at that time. They probably seen it on TV. They were in face-to-face with such an event there that, talking about it and speaking up about it is like, again, it's history.
And don't be afraid to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, with the grieving process, right now we're 19 years away from it. I don't think that it will ever go away.
It won't ever go away, but we have learned from that. What would you like our young kids today, I may put you on the spot, but the number one message to our young kids today, and I use the term loosely, I mean, you're a young adult, but what is your number one message to them to keep this memory alive?
That is a very hard question. I would definitely say, again, to not forget the oaths that those local firemen, those policemen, and even our veterans, our paramedics, our just everyone, like the oaths that they gave for the country, even if it was local or on a federal level, like they're really an American.
And you're indeed Americans, you're right. A lot of our local veterans and our law enforcement, our firemen, our first responders, however you want to call it, we don't talk about things like that. What's some way that we can get this going where we shouldn't be afraid to, like, say, I don't want you to be afraid to walk up to, say, a first responder and say, excuse me, what happened at 9/11 that you can tell me about? How can we get people to do that?
I guess we can instill a sort of event, like a yearly event, to meet at local posts or even in their home, right, like a fireman's station, to talk about it, to have memorials up there to encourage people to speak up about it. I don't think the younger generation normally knows about that.
And you are so right on that. The younger generation is so concerned about, they don't care about yesterday, they're worried about today. They don't worry about tomorrow either. Megan, we're out of time.
Oh.
I can't believe how quick this has gone. Thank you so much for coming in today and sharing with us. I know it took a lot of personal fortitude to do that, but you're doing a great job. I want you to keep this up. Remember, 9/11, it's a piece of history that we will never forget. Last word.
Thank you. God bless America.
Well put. God bless America. That'll do it for this edition of Military Minutes. I'm Jerry Tabbitt. For Megan Grimm with me here. Have a great day, everyone.